beginning of the 2020s, Africa is facing various threats, new challenges, and the crisis of multilateralism. It is time to analyze this situation and set the course for the future of peace and security in Africa.
That's why the Friedrich-Ebert-Stiftung invited 34 leading African thinkers, practitioners, and decision-makers from all over the continent to discuss the African peace and security architecture, APSA, in 2040.
APSA is a complex building that combines institutions, norms, instruments, and practices.
APSA consists of 5 institutions: the Peace and Security Council, the Panel of the Wise, the Continental Early Warning System, the African Standby Force, and the Peace Fund.
APSA is settled in the African Union. It collaborates with the regional economic communities, RECs.
APSA's future was discussed along a scenario methodology to generate possible and plausible stories.
The base is a grid along 2 key uncertainties defined by the participating experts. Will member states have the political will to implement APSA or not? Will APSA be adapted to the challenges on the continent or not?
The location on the grid indicates the conditions of each scenario. Let's have a closer look at the 4 scenarios. Scenario 1, political will but not adapted.
Imagine the effects of climate change and the increasing imbalance between economic growth and demographic pressure hit Africa hard within the next 20 years.
Transnational organized crime and violent extremism threaten governments and societies. Political leaders react with APSA reforms and operationalize the African Standby Force. But APSA stays state-based and militarized and is not adapted to new security challenges. Key civil stakeholders are excluded.
Reactive and repression-based interventions outside of APSA become the rule. Democratic freedoms, human rights, and civil society space suffer. APSA becomes an institution with no money for programmatic activities.
Therefore, APSA's conflict management is neither effective nor fit for purpose, just like an igloo in the desert.
Scenario 2, political will and fully adapted.
Imagine, as the principle of multilateralism is suffering all over the world, and the global north struggles politically and economically, Africa sets a countertrend.
An African Spring brings a new generation of democratic leaders to power. They show political will to find African solutions for African problems and transnational challenges.
APSA and the African governance architecture become integrated into the African peace, security, and governance architecture, APSCA.
It becomes a pan-African network for proactive and timely actions. The stability and resilience of African societies improve. Although risking overstretch, APSCA is a functioning answer to old and new security threats. It is the lighthouse in the storm.
Scenario 3, adapted but no political will.
Imagine, AU and RECs struggle with many non-traditional vulnerabilities. African leaders develop greater conflict prevention responsibilities. On paper, APSA is nearly perfect.
In reality, many African states show little interest in multilateral approaches, and especially in using APSA. Some member states and external actors try to instrumentalize APSA for their own agenda, causing counteraction and paralysis of the structure. The political will of member states to use APSA decreases further.
In reaction, more progressive states shift their focus to strong RECs. Together with civil society, they strive for conflict prevention and mediation. Better regional integration leads to more economic growth. But others drift into agony and cease to take actions. Violent extremism increases as much as external interventions.
APSA is only an empty shell. It would be working, but it's not used, like a sanctuary in the sky.
Scenario 4, not adapted and no political will.
Imagine, the global system turns more and more multipolar with a mindset of competition instead of collaboration.
So does Africa. Leaders focus on individual and national interests. There's no political will to improve and use the APSA framework. The institution becomes dysfunctional.
Soon a war between two major African states questions the African Union's legitimacy. Securitization and militarization, unilateral interventions by stronger states, and loose opportunistic ad hoc coalitions with external actors are the preferred answers to threats.
What is left of APSA is on life support from a few idealistic governments and NGOs. Non-African governments provide bilateral assistance or funding only to gain influence or for other geopolitical reasons.
Interregional and international cooperation is missing. Security on the continent deteriorates and dramatic humanitarian crises stay unanswered.
The APSA framework resembles a once-built but long-forgotten structure, an abandoned village.
These four scenarios aren't predictions of the world in 2040. They portray alternative development paths which informs today's decisions and their impact on the future of APSA.
How to deal with non-traditional security challenges.
How to anchor shared norms and particularly their implementation.
How to better involve civil society and parliaments within APSA.
These questions need to be answered. The future of APSA depends on decisions taken today.